beautiful internet people, and welcome to Politically Incorrect Knitters with the beautiful, deplorable knitter, and myself, Ann Pinkva. Hello.
Hi guys, thanks for joining us again.
Thanks for still showing up.
So last week, Ann and I talked about our fabulous mugs, and before we get off on any other rants, as we tend to do, I just wanted to show off my lovely, lovely new one that my grandpa gave me.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful, and it doesn't actually apply to anybody in my real life, but it really, really applies to a lot of the people that comment on my Instagram posts. There's been some crazies coming out of the woodwork lately. Not crazies, just I've gotten some very different points of view that make me wonder what is going on. So
I don't know.
My Instagram mug.
I've been kind of thinking lately that I need to spend less time on Facebook because it is the social media platform where I lose the most respect for people.
I don't spend that much time on Facebook anymore.
It's probably a good idea.
Like I've mentioned, Instagram is my nemesis, and I will fall into the hole every time I go on, which is why I may actually be more knowledgeable than Anne about something for once.
It's true.
Isn't that amazing? Know if anybody else has seen this, because I know a lot of our viewers actually don't follow Ravelry anymore. A lot of them don't participate on the platform. But yesterday was the anniversary of us getting kicked off.
Woohoo!
Yay!
And the 4-year Brexit vote anniversary. Coincidence? Probably.
I don't know.
I don't trust the Ravelry people to know their British politics. I'm sorry.
I don't think that was high on their list. Sorry. No. But I don't know why. For some reason, Ravelry seems to do crazy stuff in the month of June. Last year, it was kicking off all of the people who like Trump. So, half of its users, roughly,
right,
they didn't like us anymore. And then this year, they redesigned the site, which is cool. I mean, it was pretty old, and that was something that people talked about a lot. It needed an update.
Right.
But it didn't go quite the way they wanted it to.
Right.
Sorry.
No, I saw one person say, and it may have been the picture you sent me about, isn't it great that we're changing the colors from the more gendered tones of green and pink? I'm like, is it? Okay, that's weird.
I didn't know that green and pink were like super gendered.
I didn't think so either, but I
never thought it was that pink. I always thought it was kind of like a reddish tone.
Yeah, it was
on the old site.
Mostly green to my view, but I mean, I don't get particularly offended by colors, so maybe it was a thing.
I don't know. I don't really remember, honestly. I guess that tells you something. But anyways. So the new design has issues with accessibility. It has, the last number I saw, it has induced 7 seizures.
Yeah. Did she just get you in the face?
She bit my neck.
Ow.
So it's induced 7 seizures and like hundreds of migraines.
Yeah.
And like vision issues and things. And Ravelry is not saying anything about it.
Right. They're the type of people who will put image descriptions beneath their photos, but when you have like a widespread issue like that with your formatting, they're like, yeah, no, I don't care.
Yeah. Well, they've said a couple of times from what I've seen that it meets standards or guidelines for websites, and that's like all they've said about it. And it kind of boggles my mind that they would like tick off so many of their users.
Yeah, it's sort of like a harassment, how much are you going to take from us, bullying you kind of a thing.
Yeah, and they, especially after at the beginning of the month, they were talking about Pride, and they were talking about Black Lives Matters, and I have figures somewhere about how much money they themselves donated to Black Lives Matters. And so they're really into these social justice causes, and then people are saying, hey, I physically am unable to use your site, and they're like, all right, well, too bad. You have to log in and then you can go to the classic version. And some people are saying they can't even get past the login screen to get to the classic version.
I read something that, like, they say it's classic version, but it's actually the same bad formatting with the different font.
With a skin on it that looks like
Yeah.
the old one. That's what I've heard too. And I mean, I don't use Ravelry anymore. And I would like to check it out, but I actually get very bad migraines. And so I'm scared myself of even going on that site, because I just got over a 2-day migraine. Like, I'm finally feeling like a human today. I had to go run all my errands and like clean my house before I met with Anne, because I finally felt better. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to, like, it just, and I don't get them as bad as some people. I know people were hospitalized because of them, had to get like shots and transfusions. And I mean, mine are, I lay in my bedroom for a day with like a heat sack on my eyes and I sleep a lot. But some people like seriously cannot even function. And it's crazy to me.
Right. It's like, talk about hypothetical, you know, you're talking about social issues, you're talking about this, you talk about that, but your website physically causes harm to people. And you're like, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah. And it's such
you know, sorry. It's like, only the strong will survive. Wait, what? Isn't that height of ableism? Come on.
It is. But I mean, like, it's mind-boggling that they're so gung-ho for certain social issues, and then these people are like, you've made me sick, I had to go to the emergency room. And they're like, I read something where somebody said they couldn't take they were going to take a test for their motorcycle license, and now they can't sit it because they've had a seizure.
Right.
And they're not allowed to go drive now. Like, this is serious stuff, and they're just like, whatever.
Like, oh well, you know.
But
aren't you down for the struggle? If you were really down for the struggle, you'd be with us and you'd never complain.
Right. But it's funny because now they've gotten rid of us, right? Mm-hmm. All of the conservatives that everybody loved to hate are gone. And so it seems like a couple weeks ago we talked about Stephen B. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he was not a good person, but he was
not that he isn't a good person, but you know, he's
no, but he was part of the group, and then he said one wrong thing and everybody attacked him. And now it's almost like Ravelry's doing this, and the amount of designers that have pulled their links to Ravelry are kind of nuts. Like, there have been some big names that have said, we're not going to direct people to your site anymore because it's unsafe.
Right. And even when the Ravelry thing happened last year, one of the videos that I saw, it was Stephanie from Crochet O'Clock, and she was talking about one of the problems that she had with Ravelry wasn't so much that they were taking, you know, sort of an exclusionary political stand, but that they won't address copyright problems. That if you take a copyright problem to, you know, whatever copyright board, they're like, we don't know knitting patterns. We can't figure it out. We can't, you know, we don't know who owns what. So it's hard for us to judge, when Ravelry is all about patterns and should be able to know who owns what as far as patterns are concerned and be able to regulate and have that more.
Right. And I think with some of the stealing, it was pretty obvious too. It was like a copy of another person's pattern page. Like, it wasn't even like sneaky.
Right. It wasn't like, oh, well, this section of the pattern is a bit like this, where you could have a little bit of wiggle room. But yeah, that Ravelry doesn't care about the yarn issues, which is, it's like they have no concept of, you are a website first that is supposed to provide a good service. That you are here because you provide a service that people want to use. That's why most people join you. That people are here because they want knitting patterns or crochet patterns, or you know, they want, you know, find local yarn stores, whatever the thing is that you come to Ravelry for. and you're making the website then unusable. You're not addressing the actual problems. You want to address like social justice issues over here. If there was a new social justice issue, you'd hop on that bandwagon and you'd talk about it and you'd go crazy. But no, you have a very simple, everyone's having a problem accessibility issue, or not everybody, enough people so that you should fix it quickly. Like,
yeah, and it
again, physical harm.
It's been over a week since they rolled out the new site, from what I understand. So it's not like this happened 2 days ago and they're like, yeah, it's just been long enough that they really should have like rolled it back to the old site. They should have, they were like, oh, well, we beta tested it, but I don't know. It seems like they didn't have a large enough group, if that's the case, or I don't know. I mean, it's easy to, Monday morning quarterback on them, and but the fact that they haven't even said, yeah, we're going to work on it. Yeah, we respect you guys. Yeah, that it's taking like big name designers saying, I'm not going to link to you.
Right.
That's pretty crazy.
Right. And I mean, also, you mentioned all of the money that they gave to Black Lives Matter. If you're giving all this money to Black Lives Matter, then maybe just for the sake of your business, of your website, perhaps you should have held a little bit of that back in order to process this better, in order to actually work out your product instead of having a large number to virtue signal with. Like, it's...
Right. I mean,
even a large amount of money for, again, we've talked about Black Lives Matter, but even if whatever charitable donation to a cause you really believe in, okay, but if you're donating that from money you have made and you haven't actually used that to help your product, to keep up, how is that like the good, responsible thing to do? Like, to actually help people who use your product, who show up for your product.
Yeah, I think that it's, like you said, they're not really worried about what their job is. Mm-hmm. Like, they're more worried about virtue signaling and saying the right thing and giving money to the right people. And, yeah, you have the biggest knitting website currently, but you continue to do crap like this. I mean, the people that I saw that were taking their patterns off have 50,000 followers. They have a ton of people behind them. And so is that really something you want to risk?
Right.
If enough people stop directing to you, you're not going to be the big dog. It's going to take time, but yeah.
Right. They're going for problems that are sort of kind of general, vague social issues, and they're not dealing with problems that are right in front of their faces that they can directly affect right now.
But it's just interesting to me how they've gotten rid of the people that they didn't like. Mm-hmm. And so now they've moved on to each other. And I don't know. I'm not big on... I think that the accessibility issue is a big deal. Mm-hmm. Like, usually when they're crying about things, I'm kind of like, whatever, you're mad about something that's hurting your feelings. But this is like, you're not complying with standards that are set by like the disability guidelines. Like, that's different.
Right. Even many Netflix shows have the may cause seizures warning. Do you have one of those? Probably not.
Right. And I read somewhere that all of that cool... Okay, so apparently on the homepage when you log in, there's like animation.
Okay.
I read something today that said that animation is illegal in the EU.
Really?
So, okay, yeah, so you are a US website.
Right.
But you also have a lot of people in the EU who use you. So perhaps you should like know what's going on. And now they've got like their one of their web designer people checking into it themselves, and people are calling for like an independent person to come in and check it out, because if the person that's checking it out was designing it, then really how unbiased are they going to be? They're
Right.
not going to be like, oh, hey, oh,
Oh,
I
wait.
screwed up this whole section here. No,
I
they're going to be
guess
like, oh, it's fine.
everything that I was working on is kind of a failure, but it's super cute,
Yeah.
guys. So,
Yeah, we love these little new emojis we got.
yeah, like, well, who does that help?
It's just
But yeah, for being as, multi-culti as Ravelry is, they just they're just like terrible to their international people. Like they're big old again, banning Trump supporters. So let's wade into American politics, and then you have all of these people, hi, we're around the world and we don't care.
right. It's not just like if they were like a US website, it would make more sense. But
Right.
really, out of their 8 million that they have subscribed, how many of them are in the US?
Yeah,
How
and
many of them are really there? Not bots anyway.
also from when, again, I haven't logged on to Ravelry like since it went down. So, you know. Um but my favorite patterns were all from, like Norway. Like it was, that you have all these, these very traditional knitting patterns, or even the how it's pronounced, the Cauchuan patterns from that's in Canada, that
Okay.
it's a big thick sweater that you have like eagles and stuff on it, so it's close to my heart. But anyways, that the international patterns are what I was all about. Like,
Yeah,
and
that's surprising.
no, sorry, but if it's like a Swedish pattern, I'm like, awesome. And if all this, like, you're cutting off everybody, but who's going to be in your club at the end of this? If Sweden in the EU, bang, they can't have the website anymore, then they're gone. Then you have the people with accessibility issues, or the people who don't want their website, or they don't want to have their patterns on a place that, again, physically harm people with migraines, with seizures and other things. Like, yeah.
I don't know. And I think that if they had responded and said, we hear what you're saying, we are working on fixing the issue, it would have gone a really long way.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I understand, they've opened up a thread on one of their forums, like they do when there's issues. And they have, every day they let people open a new thread, and they never like address any of the issues that people are putting in there. Hundreds of comments, let people vent, but they never say, okay, we hear. It's just really, it's an odd way to do business. It really is.
It is. And of course, with the way that Ravelry has treated people in the past, they don't take criticism well at all.
No,
So if you get a
no.
little too sharp with your criticism of their site, how long are you going to last?
Right. But I
Like,
just don't, I just, it boggles my mind. It would be like, once in a while with Etsy, somebody will email me and say, I never got my pattern.
mm-hmm.
Does that ever happen to you with yours, or no?
It does. It does. What I've found is that it's difficult if you're on mobile to look at your downloaded patterns, that you have to
Mm-hmm.
go into your
Right.
browser. But yeah, that I
But
get those emails all the time, and then I address them.
right. And so like if somebody says, oh, this account that I have associated with Etsy, it never works for some reason. I never get the link to download. I verify that they bought the pattern and I email it to them.
Yep.
Like it's business.
Right.
It's your job that you've purchased something for me. So therefore you're having trouble. Let me see what I can do to fix this for you.
You know,
It's not that
you are
difficult.
just talking from a place of capitalist privilege. The wanting happy customers. What is your problem? Just suffer like the rest of us. If you cared, you suffer. People like wanting to buy stuff and then like actually getting the product at the end in a reasonable time frame. What's with that? Like, I'm sorry.
You have serious issues.
Again, poor business sense.
Well, you're in business like that. I mean, you get what you get.
I guess so.
There's a book I read to my kids. It's called You Get What You Get and You Don't Throw a Fit. So
There you go.
you asked for it.
Sounds like a wise book.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
We actually say that a lot around here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you asked for that? Well, guess what you're going to have then.
Right.
It's a hard concept, but it is
An
something
important
you'll
one.
have to learn eventually.
Huh.
But so I don't know. I guess when you are against capitalism as a whole, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like a way to do business, right?
Right. And yeah, I this is sort of a weird story that
Okay.
maybe not this weird story, but I have interacted with people who haven't really believed in capitalism, and that has made them horrible business people. like they
Right.
like like the, oh, it's okay if not like totally screw you over, but kind of screw you over because that's just how capitalism is. I'm like, no, it isn't. That's bad. You don't do that to people. Like,
that doesn't make any sense.
no, it's like a, well, I got mine. And I'm like, no, like part of capitalism is good reputation. And it's not always the case. There's, there's bad people in capitalism, like there's bad people everywhere. But in principle, if, like people talk about, like big corporations are trying to kill you. If they kill you, they don't get money. It doesn't work that way.
Right. They don't get the fact that like us sending patterns to people who have issues downloading them.
Uh-huh.
That's because we enjoy having people purchase our patterns.
Right. And we
so
want
if it
them
gets around that we ignore them,
mm-hmm.
what's going to happen? They're going to stop buying our patterns. It's how life works.
Exactly. I want happy reviews and happy customers and people who will tell their friends nice things about me.
Exactly. That's kind of the point of the whole thing.
Right.
And so if we just ignore what people say,
mm-hmm.
whatever, it just kills me.
Yeah, I don't know. More power to Fiberkind, eh?
I've been going to Fiberkind a little bit more often, and I like it. I like the layout. I keep getting sucked into my Instagram hole, and then I find that I don't have as much time to do other things as I would enjoy. So I'm going to work on that because I really need to like set a timer when I go on Instagram because I just end up like it's an hour later and I'm like, what happened? Where did all the time go?
I know. No, I do it too. And things like Fiberkind or Fiberkind, sorry, for those of you who don't know, Fiberkind is an alternate site to Ravelry that started again a year ago. Yay! And anyways, the people on Fiberkind are lovely and it's good and it's everything else. And then of course I get distracted with the more, Instagram negative stuff going on.
Yeah, it's a nice culture, and then here I am watching like the dumpster fires instead of like being around nice people. It's a
yeah, and I actually had meant to send a hat to the couple, or a couple of hats to the people who invented the Fiberkind website, and then I never did. So it's like more guilt hanging over me because of that. And like they're doing a thing with they're doing blanket squares to have a big Fiberkind anniversary blanket. I'm like, oh, that would be awesome. I can't. I'm sorry. I don't. Again, I committed to things like the hats that I didn't all the hats are complete, but they're not sent out or whatever. But like, I don't want to commit to another thing. It's like, I love you all. I'm so sorry. Ugh. I want to join your party. Like, I am in your party, but I'm not in that specific corner of the party, by the drinks table. I want to be, but I'm, busy over here.
Yeah, but I got stuck talking to this person over here, and now I'm trapped.
Right.
So I'll try to make it over, but
it's
no
like
guarantees.
Uh-huh. I'm looking over like, oh man, that looks like a good time over here, but I'm over here in this endless political debate.
So our fabulous knitter, Anne.
Sorry, I've been doing this thing all week where you're like, look at my progress, and she's like, I hate you, and I'm like, look at it again. I'm still gonna show off.
No, No, and I'm so proud of everything that you're doing, and it's awesome. But Anne has finished another square.
Yeah.
Because you can.
Because I can. Yeah, well, I had time off this weekend, so that helped too.
That's cool.
So I can sit there and focus on my knitting. Let's see. Want to make I should have probably ironed it a little bit so it doesn't curl up on itself. But
iron it?
Well, block
like
it
steam
a little. Like a little help. But yeah, and then I was reminded that I ought to keep talking while I hold this up, because apparently when I held up my eagle, it wasn't very long because I didn't talk, so I'm still talking. And yeah, so it's Don't Tread on Me. It's a big old snake. Galveston.
It is fabulous. You did an awesome job on it.
Oh,
and so, Anne is fabulous and wonderful as always.
It is bigger than the eagle. I don't know how it's going to work, but.
Oh, it's totally going to be fine. Because I think this is turning into a crazy quilt where we're just going to kind of piece it together and it's going to work out.
Right.
So I'm not worried about that part of it. But so this week I have been struggling with how fabulous Anne is. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, I'm a little bit jealous.
Sorry. I'm gonna go sit in my corner.
No, don't.
Think of what I did.
I figure being honest is good, because it's easy as a crafter, a designer, a person who's just trying to replicate what you've seen to like look at what other people are doing and feel like crap.
Right.
And it happens to all of us. And when we took on this blanket project, I was totally like, I can do Intarsia, blah blah blah, because when it's time for me to do stuff, I just kind of dive in and it usually works out. Well, I have news. I can't do Intarsia. It's really hard for me. And if I had been doing it for, I don't know, like a decade like Anne, I'm sure I could make it look that easy too. But for my first time, I've been working on my square, and this is around 6 hours worth of work. Okay.
It looks good though.
It looks nice. I mean, if you look at the back of it, it's nice.
Yep, it's all even. It's all good.
But my point of the whole talking about this is that in 6 hours, I bet you had that snake close to done if you weren't done. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
From the progress photos you were sending me, I'm pretty certain that these 2.5 rows that I got done, you would have been like done with the words or close to done if you were doing this one. And that made me feel really crappy about myself. I'm not going to lie. But I thought about it. I prayed about it, because that's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like right to be, well, I am envious of your skill.
And I am a show-offy jerk. Don't excuse me.
No. I want to see your progress. It's like important because we're working on a project together, and I just feel like bad because I don't have progress to show. Like, I kind of feel like I'm not doing my part of the deal, which makes me feel like crap. But I wanted to talk about it with our people, because it kind of goes back to the whole, we live in this Instagram world where everything is beautiful and perfect, and you see the beautiful finished projects and you don't necessarily see the stuff that's going on behind it.
Right.
And so after talking to Anne about it, because she is better at Intarsia, she's probably going to do more blocks that have like pictures on it, because you're just good at it.
Well, and part of the design process too is that you were talking more quotes to do, and I was also talking more pictures. So that is, again, our different strong suits in order to come together and make this.
Exactly. And so what I've decided about this is that I am going to learn how to steek, which is where I'm going to knit all of my stuff in the round, and then I'm going to, there's a way to, I think you either crochet it or you use a sewing machine and you sew your project and then you cut it in half so that it's flat. And I'm better at stranded knitting.
Right.
I can do stranded knitting all day long, and generally part of what's so upsetting about this thing is that once I start the letters, like I don't need to look at a chart. Like I need to reference it once in a while, but I don't need to like look at a chart. It's very intuitive to me.
Mm-hmm.
And this would have taken me like an hour if I was doing it the way I usually knit.
Right. If it
And
was
so that's
around, you
part of
just
why I was so frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. Like I guess as an encouragement to people watching, like not everything comes easy. Not everything is the picture perfect, beautiful, what you see on Instagram or Facebook or that we show you at the end, you know. Anne is awesome at the picture stuff. Give me a grid with some words on it. I'll knit that up in an afternoon. But
right.
it's not always, I don't know. You get what I'm getting at, right?
Right. And again, with the practice thing, you are coming at it when this is your first project with Intarsia, and it's slow and you're learning in that too. And you know, I'm over here, and Intarsia has been basically what I've lived in knitting wise for 5-6 years at least. So
Right.
you know, so all of my, this is difficult, I'm holding it, you know, this is, how do I do this? How is tensions and everything else? Like that learning curve is something that I've already done. That,
Right.
and you said about you're not seeing that. And part of, you know, not seeing that is that, again, in our different knitting skill sets, that, again, that hasn't been your focus, that you've been doing the stranded knitting, you've been doing other things. It's not as if you lack skills as a knitter. It's this specific, what am I supposed to say, this specific discipline, this technique isn't well known to you, which is, it's new, you're learning, that's awesome. But, you know, you are getting, you know, the lady who taught me to knit, she said something like, you know, it's okay. She was always very calming down, and, you know, as long as you're getting one stitch after another, you will get there eventually. And if you mess up, you can pull it out or you can let it be. It's all right. Just keep going.
Right. And
There's
that's
nothing
the
that's
thing.
actually destroyed.
Right. And I just, like, I struggled with it because I was trying to do it like you.
Right.
And now that I've come to the conclusion that that's not how it's going to work for me,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be awesome.
Right.
But there's also the added pressure of, we want to do this for the museum exhibit,
Right.
and application submissions are due in August.
Right.
I actually need to start working on my submissions because I haven't done a single one yet, which is terrible. But so because of the deadline, we
Mm-hmm.
want to get as much done as we can, because, you know, if we're submitting a very large project and only a quarter of it is done, they're more likely to say no to it than if 3/4 of it is ready.
Right.
And so I don't feel I have the luxury to do one stitch at a time. I need to find a way to do this efficiently. And then afterwards, I will take one of your beautiful charts and probably learn how to do it the proper way. But for now, I'm going to just steam along and try to do my best, the way I know how to do it, which is not the way you do it.
Right. I know, maybe we can hang out on, you know, non-recorded video chat and be like, step by step, look at it.
Right. And that's the thing. But when you're, I don't know, I just want people, because I've heard, I have gotten a lot of people who are like, I don't know how to do this. I don't have the skill you have. So Anne's saying it took her 5 or 6 years to really get to the point where she can make this stuff look super easy.
Right. And it wasn't also with the learning curve. Like, I mean, your first, you know, sometimes when you start out something, you look at it and you're like, yeah, that's not great. But also it wasn't as if it took me 5 or 6 years in order for my stuff to look good. Like, you're not producing terrible stuff and then 5 years later, woohoo, it's a miracle. Like,
no, that's not what I mean. I mean,
no,
like,
I know,
but you've been doing it for so many years now that it looks easy when you do it, which is where I got hung up. I was looking at your stuff going, oh my God, it's so beautiful. And here I've knit 4 words. I'm like,
Right.
what is wrong with me?
Right. And also part of my thing is not just the knitting itself. Like I said, I do a lot of charts. So it's, again, mentally training myself. So when I look at a chart, when you chart something out and then you knit it, it's going to be different. Like it's gonna move differently, how the stitches interact with each other, and everything is gonna be different. But again, I've been knee deep in this, that it's like, okay, as I'm adjusting the chart, I'm looking at the different lines of the curves of the snake. Like, okay, so with the snake, right? Okay, you see the snake. There are bits about this, and you're like, oh yeah, whatever, Anne. But like the line right in here,
Mm-hmm.
like that drives me absolutely bonkers. Like, I think I'm gonna point out that when people look at it, they'll be like, oh, well, it's supposed to be the shade, or it's supposed to be the coil. But to me, I look at it and like, that's wrong. But at the same time, I want to get it out quickly. I'm not gonna go back. But if we're going to produce these charts, then I want to go back to the chart and look at it and fix my lines and make sure it's good. But I'm still looking at this going like, that's not great. I think this right here, I want to cut a little bit away. Again, it's micromanaging stuff, but I'm still looking at this going like, I'm pleased with it. I think the general curve of the snake is good, but there is room for improvement. There's, like I said, I wanted to pull it out and like, no, go forward. I need to finish these, because the sooner I finish this one, we can move on to the next one, and there's a big quilt to make by August.
Right. And it's not that we're going to send a bad product to museum. It's just that we have the luxury, since we're making it into a quilt and we're not releasing the patterns right away, that we can, embroider over a spot that might not be perfect, or it might be, I mean, we're never going to send something that's like a bad product. It's just that
Right.
especially when Anne charts, she is like she micromanages it, which is fine. That's how she does it. And she, like we talked about before, she anger knits, and I don't work that way. So the fact that I started to get discouraged with my piece, I put it down and I didn't work on it for like 3 days. Whereas like if I was Anne, I probably would have finished it because I would have been so mad at it. Well, that's just not how I work.
Or I would have made 42 samples. Because again, this is something that nobody else cares about, but it really frustrates me when I'm trying to knit something and it's supposed to be something that's round and it's not in round. Drives me up a wall. Like
she talks about things being round all the time.
I know.
It's a really big thing for her.
I know, it's
Whereas
crazy.
me, I'm like, it's close. I'm going to move on. Because
you're like, it's kind of an oval.
But that's, as designers and people, that's how we're different. I like to have my designs be nice. I like them to turn out the way I want them to. But because I kind of always approach it, I'm knitting. Like this letter might look funny because I'm knitting, and it's kind of like on a grid as opposed to like being able to curve. So and you, on the other hand, you're like, I'm going to make this grid curve. And I'm like, okay.
Well, okay. So we talked last week about Brexit Tea Cozy. I actually started it, but it's not much. It's like this much. So it'd be like, woohoo, you can sell it as blue. But I showed the sort of Brexit thing, and these are not the final letters, but I should have stretched it out. Anyways, you can tell that it's a circle.
It's a nice circle. I like it.
So the circle and the arrow is in, the letters are out. But yeah, the amount of time that I spend, again, to get circles. I talked a little bit about the Women's Ordnance Worker beanie, which I could probably just grab. But I did 14 at least little symbols in order to get again, my mother tells me that I must like, doing the samples more than I like the knitting itself. But
that's funny.
Yeah. Here, one second. I will grab it. this is the finished product, but it's not even the finished product because it's not right. So this is based on the woman's ordnance worker stamp. They're the people who made bombs during World War II. This was the Rosie the Riveter type thing. So here is my finished pattern, not my finished product, because this was supposed to be a beret and it's too stiff and weird. So like
That happens.
It happens. I stuck it on my head and it just like stands straight up. I'm like, nobody wants to wear this, but I haven't pulled it out yet because I still want it visual so I can think about it and as it becomes something else. But in order to get that, again, most of these are probably a waste of time, but we have all of these guys.
And all of them are a little different, right?
Uh-huh.
Because that's how she rolls.
And we have these guys. These were some of the first over here. I posted them on Instagram, which is always a mistake. Never post things on Instagram before you've actually finished them. You never will. It's a curse. And then we also have, I think this was near the end because we're looking pretty normal over here. But yeah, so let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, actually 16. So, it's like that, which is, again, however so many hours I spent knitting. So that's probably not productive time, but again, the sort of craziness of whatever.
Her need to have everything just perfect is
right. Well, it's probably not healthy in itself. Like it's its own problem.
Well, you were grabbing yours. I got something too, and last week somebody asked us the difference between stranded knitting and Intarsia.
Oh, sure.
So this is my Women for Trump cowl. As you can see, the pattern goes all the way around.
Uh-huh.
And so on the inside, you can see how you carry your yarn all the way through the project. On the rows where there's colors, you use both colors all the way around. And then this is my Intarsia piece. I mean, Anne's is probably nicer to look at, but you can see that where my words are, that the colors stay where my words are, that they don't come across like I do in stranded knitting, which is why it's a different technique. And I had a lot of trouble, because I'm not Anne, I had a lot of trouble like where my words join. It's getting better as I practice, but it's loose here and my stitches aren't as nice and defined, and that really, really irks me, which is part of why this thing never got worked on, because I was just mad at it.
Right. Just throw the project in the corner. Think about what you did.
Seriously, that thing has been in timeout for a while. We're not friends. I'm going to chart something new because I don't even know if forget the Statue of Liberty. She's not going on it. Forget it.
She's out.
Mad at her.
Lady Liberty, you're done. No, I like I showed with the ordnance worker hat, like I have several projects that are in timeout. Like I have another example. So I made an Israeli beanie. Ta-da! Mm-hmm. It's a nice finished product. I have an Israeli beret, which I will pull out. So yeah, the stars aren't bad, but it's way too high up on the head. So your stars are going to be like up here. You're also in timeout. Stupid hat.
I've had issues with stuff like that. And that's it's with the Instagram culture where you guys, or not you guys, but like people don't necessarily see what it takes to get to where you are. Like I say that I only knit my stuff once. That's not entirely true. Like sometimes I make my charts too big, and then you'd have to have a head this tall to be able to read what I've written, and so that stuff has to get reworked. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I show it, sometimes I don't. It kind of depends on how annoyed I am.
Right. But that was you know, one of the things with the Betsy Ross hat that I made, it's like, oh, but you know what, like, can't it? A lot of people are like, but what if I did it in worsted? It'd be huge. Now,
Right.
I read, like, with the Union Jack one, that's in worsted and that works out, but it's like, what, like, sort of the covering my behind thing of putting things with smaller yarn is in order to do the thing like you said, so it's not all the way up here, or it's like,
Right. And anybody who's been on my Zooms knows how I feel about fingering weight yarn. I think it's from the devil.
I
But
know.
I have knit some of my patterns in like DK on size 2 needles
Mm-hmm.
because I have to. Because for it to work out, it's got to be what it's got to be.
Right.
I have never resorted to actually using fingering weight on like tiny needles, but if you come across one of my patterns and it's on like size 2, that's because it had to be. It's just
Right.
how it goes. Like I won't even lie about that.
Right. It's like it's how it fits. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to be
I'm
that way,
sorry,
but
nobody wants to actually use size. I mean, some people love using size 2 needles.
mm-hmm.
In my life, if it's on like an 8, I'm like, this is perfect. I'm like thrilled because then I can knit it in an afternoon.
Right.
Anything other than that, it takes me way too long.
Size 5 needles. That's where my heart is at.
Yeah. I've actually gotten happier with like 6s. Like as I get more experience, they tend to get smaller, but like fingering weight is still out. I probably need 5 more years of knitting, like Intarsia, like you, and then I'll be like, oh, this is super.
Be like, oh, this is fantastic. You're like, oh, great. Talking before, I don't know if I mentioned this already, but my my little Brexit tea cozy, same thing, DK weight yarn on size 2 needles, because otherwise it would be, I think I said before, it'd be a tea cozy that'd fit the whole Mr. Coffee maker. We don't want that. We want reasonable teapot size.
Right. You want it to fit maybe a larger teapot, but not like a ginormous one. Like there's got to be a little.
Whatever teapot you have, you want to be able to lift with one hand.
Exactly.
Like,
but yeah, I don't want to like rant about like how I think Anne is super talented and I'm so impressed by her skills, and my ranting is not about her and her skills. It's about how I was feeling about myself. I just want to make sure that that's very clear. It was issues I was having with myself and it's comparing. That's why we don't compare ourselves to each other, because we're all good at different things.
Right.
So, sorry. I want to clarify that because I think you're like super duper.
Oh, thanks. I think you're super duper too.
We're weird.
Yeah, that works.
It works for us.
Yeah, it does. No. I mean, part of it with knitting for me, it's like, well, they're like, oh, I'm good at knitting. Like, oh, haven't done anything. This is my only skill set. Let's not joke around.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Not very. I mean, I'm good at other stuff, but nothing that's like write home to the parents about, you know?
Right.
So anyway, I think Anne and I have ranted enough about how we knit, at least for today. As always, if we've shown something and it's an actual product we have, it is available in our Etsy shops and the link is in the description. Mm-hmm. And thanks for joining us. Remember, like, comment, subscribe.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Tell your friends.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
All right. See you later, guys. Bye.
All right. Bye.